If I could have your attention, I think we have reached that 6 o'clock hour. I would like to welcome you to the Harnett County Board of Commissioners regular meeting for September 20th, 2021. At this time, with Commissioner McCoy's absence tonight, I would like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and Invocation. We all rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Our Father, we do thank you for this day. We thank you for this time that we have to come together to attend to the business of the citizens of this county. We just pray that you would be with us in this meeting. We pray that you would make this a special time for our Gold Star families that we will recognize tonight, and for the ultimate sacrifice that was given for the freedom of our country. All these things we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. At this time, we'll consider any additions or deletions to the published agenda.
Mr. Chairman, we do have one. We'd like to add the Workforce Innovation and Opportunities Act funding for fiscal year 21-22. I've asked Cody to come up and give you a brief.
Good evening, Commissioners. Hope everybody's doing well. What this is WIOA, which is the Workforce Innovation Opportunities Act. It's a federal grant administered by Triangle South Workforce Development Board, of which they sponsor Harnett County. It's funding to provide services to the citizens of Harnett County to enroll in the WIOA youth, adult, and dislocated workers in the youth program for Sampson County. So this is a 3-year contract, and so it comes about every year. So just asking for your approval tonight. It was in your packet. I would suggest you just put it on consent if you're comfortable with that.
That's what we were going to suggest. We make it E under the consent agenda. If everybody's comfortable with that.
Yeah, okay with that.
I think so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we add item E, the Workforce Innovation Opportunities Act, to the consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Weatherspoon, Commissioner Nickel for the second. At this time, I will have a vote on the amended agenda. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. This time we have a proclamation designating September 26, 2021 as Gold Star Mothers and Family Day. Commissioner Weatherspoon.
If all the Gold Star families and anyone with Veterans Treatment Court would come forward, I'd appreciate it. This is a proclamation designating September 26, 2021 as Gold Star Mothers and Families Day. Whereas Gold Star mothers and families are those that have lost a child, spouse, parent, sibling, or others during active service in the United States Armed Forces, and whereas Gold Star mothers and families are a vital part of our country's military community and history, and whereas on June 23rd, 1936, a joint congressional resolution designated the last Sunday in September as Gold Star Mother's Day to be observed each year by presidential proclamation, and whereas on September 23rd, 2011, a presidential proclamation amended the day to Gold Star Mothers and Family Day, and whereas Harnett County recognizes and values the long and proud tradition of supporting the United States Armed Forces and their families, and whereas Harnett County, with its proximity to Fort Bragg, has a considerable population of active service members, veterans, and their families residing within the county, and whereas all Americans have an obligation to recognize and honor the valor, courage, and heroism of those who have fought for this nation as well as the mothers and families that have lost a loved one in the defense of the freedom of the people of the United States. And whereas the sacrifices of the mothers and families of fallen members of the United States Armed Forces should never be forgotten. Now therefore, be it proclaimed that the Harnett County Board of Commissioners does hereby express its profound gratitude and admiration for the sacrifices, the strength, the resilience of the mothers and families who have lost a loved one in service to this nation. Be it further proclaimed that the Harnett County Board of Commissioners does hereby designate September the 26th, 2021 as Gold Star Mothers and Families Day in Harnett County, and encourages all citizens to observe and honor this day by performing acts of service and goodwill in the community, sharing the stories and offering support to members of the Gold Star family, and celebrating families in which loved ones have made the ultimate sacrifice to ensure the freedoms, safety, and security that all Americans have been blessed with in this nation. Declared this the 20th day of September 2021. And we will have a signed copy for you. At this time, I'm going to present this to the Veterans Treatment Court for display in your offices. Thank you all for coming out. Y'all want to get a joint picture with me?
And I would, after we get this picture, we will take about a 5-minute recess for those of you who would like to share your appreciation for these families and their sacrifice and commitment to our nation. Thank you.
Can we get everyone to slide over this way? Couple feet.
Our 5-minute recess time is up, so we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion for the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Consent agenda with the addition of E that we added.
Thank you, Commissioner Nichol. Thank you for the second, Commissioner Witherspoon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We will now have a period of up to 30 minutes for public comment. Each person who desires to speak will have 3 minutes. Speaker may not speak more than once during this public comment period. Speaker should address the board from the podium and begin your remarks by stating your name and residential address. We ask all speakers to maintain proper decorum and make comments in a civil manner with no personal attacks or use of obscene or profane language. Anyone who would like to address the board, please step forward.
Seems like I stood before you guys before. Back again. I'm Susan Van Cannon. I live in Kipling up in northwest Harnett County. And I'm here, first of all, to say that nothing I say can compare to the sacrifice of the Gold Star people. I'm so humbled by that and so grateful for their sacrifice. I also came to thank you gentlemen, and I think there's Ms. McCoy and Mr. Johnson, for your work on the county commissioners. But it's come to my attention that there are some concerns over explosive growth in Harnett County, and I don't think anybody can argue with that. I got tied up over at the middle school today, and it's awful. It is awful. And the more people that came to me and the more people that complained, I said, if you're going to complain, sign a petition. And they did. And I have it right here. They're very concerned about roads, schools, and I think I've been through this same speech with you gentlemen before. But right now we have 684 names on the petition from the Angie area, the Harnett Central, most of it's from the Harnett Central area. And when you stop and think that 5 people determine the rate of growth in Harnett County, it's kind of it's a big responsibility for you all. And I want you just to think as you make your decisions that we're stewards of this land. We're stewards of this county. And we want to make sure that we are honest, that we use integrity in all our decisions, and that we serve rather than to be served. I was at the groundbreaking of the Northwest Harnett School the other day, and the chairman of the school board said we have 2 things that we need to do. We need to catch up, and we need to plan ahead. How do you catch up? You catch up when somebody slows down. We've got to slow this growth down in Harnett County. Our schools are not ready for it. Our roads are not ready for it. 30 seconds. Think about what he said.
Thank you, Ms. Van Cannon.
Good evening. I'm Rosa Smith Williams, 3273 Bun Level, Irwin Road, Irwin, North Carolina. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'm here to talk about the flooding and swamp areas in the Riverside community. I know that you are aware of that, and we appreciate all efforts, but there is a great need for help. We need dishes cleaned out. Ditches used to be cleaned out, and that process has not happened in our community in years. We need those basic services that are just any human would desire to be done. And so we are requesting that you give added attention, and I thank you for what you have done. We're grateful for what has been done, but there is so much more that needs to be done. And so I am asking that this Harnett County Board of Commissioners would consider putting additional funds, maybe funds would be great, because I don't think additional would be the right word. But if you would put funds in the area to address those needs. The mosquitoes are overwhelming. The kinds of insects that are there are damaging to property and to people. And so I ask your immediate attention to this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
I think we need to,
You know, they've got that study that they're supposed to be. We can do that. Excuse me. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Marina Elliott, 52 Sawgrass Court, Bun Level, North Carolina. I am a proud 30-year Air Force retiree. I'm standing here on behalf of the Riverside Community Action Network. That is where I was born and raised, and decided to retire back here in Harnett County after serving my country for 30 years. But I also stand on behalf of RCAN, which is the Riverside Community Action Network. We are now in the process of wetland solutions, a working study to determine the problem with the standing water. We are asking your assistance once that study is completed. We anticipate that it will be completed within the next month or two. Then we're going to present that to the commissioners, and we're going to ask for your support in getting funding to help us get that community cleaned up, because there's a lot of standing water there. And then we have snakes and mosquitoes that are not good for the health of the Riverside Community Action, the Riverside residents. So we will be looking forward to working with you when that study is completed. Also, we are going to ask that we're actually drafted a letter. You will receive an electronic copy of the letter this week, and then you will also receive a regular mail letter explaining the situation and what we propose as potential solutions for that. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Elliott. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Ronnie Kemp, K-E-M-P. My address is 244 Chesley Lane in Lillington. I'm here tonight to talk about the proposed asphalt and concrete plant that many citizens learned about this week that's going to be proposed to go in on Highway 401 just past the train tracks going towards Fuquay. I just want to express my deep sadness and concern over the fact that this plant is being located in an area that's filled with a lot of residents who haven't had a voice in the decision-making process at all. Several of us were involved in the opposition to the plant that was proposed on Highway 210 going into Andra earlier this year. We're very well aware of the health and safety and environmental impacts that this plant proposes to our neighborhoods and our families. And I urge you to consider allowing an opportunity for residents to voice their concerns publicly, to have the information about the safety and the environmental and health impacts be publicly announced so that people have an opportunity to digest this information. I'm sorry, I haven't had a lot of time to put my thoughts together for this evening, but I have called the Planning and Building Department earlier this week, and I felt like my concerns were downplayed. I was told that it's not going to be any different than the plant on 210, the Johnson plant. That may very well be the case, but I didn't choose to build my home next to the Johnson plant. And I feel like the informed consent is being taken away from residents, and the fact that this plant is being constructed after many residential homes have gone into the area versus a plant that was in existence ahead of time, and people could make the conscious decision whether or not they wanted to live nearby. The only other thing I'd like to add at this point is just to please consider allowing us an opportunity to hear from the plant developer. I mean, like I said, several of us did hear about the Inter plant. That plant proposed site was only 13 acres. The property that they've purchased on 401 is 40 acres. I can only assume that the plant is going to be larger. I've also understand that it's going to be a concrete and asphalt plant versus just an asphalt plant. So all of this information is incredibly concerning to residents. I don't feel like there's been a lot of forthcoming information to people who live within, I mean, a mile or two. I think it would be beneficial to include residents in the planning process for that. So thank you for your time tonight, for hearing my concerns.
Thank you, Ms. Kemp. Does anyone else would like to speak?
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Scott Parrish, and I also live in Kipling. My address is 658 Kipling Road. Like Ms. Von Cannon, I'm just concerned about the amount of growth in northern Harnett County, especially around the Kipling area. I've been there for 48 years. I don't look like I'm 48. I'm a farmer. I feel like I'm 48 years old. Traffic in Kipling is terrible. I have equipment that I haul up and down the road in transport mode is 14 foot wide. A lot of people moving into this area don't understand that. I have lost numerous farms this year because of subdivisions. It hurts. It hurts me. It hurts my family. I know we're going to get growth, but we need a better controlled growth, in my opinion. Opening day of middle school this year, my son said, up here, I carried him in middle school. I live 3 miles from the middle school. It took me an hour and 45 minutes to take him to the middle school and get back to my farm. Did not stop. An hour and 45 minutes to go 3 miles and 3 miles back home. I understand everybody and their grandmother wanted to carry the child to school the first day. I'm glad to see the new schools coming. We're going to need them. But when the middle school was built several years ago, it was supposed to be the latest and greatest thing. Colby finally gets to go to middle school. He's sitting in a hut. The school was built too small to start with. And when these 2 new schools over here in northern Harnett County get built, they're going to be too small to start with. I know. There's somewhere around 5,000 houses coming to Kipling in the next 2 years. I've talked to several people in the county, several developers. 5,000 houses in a community that has had 600 houses over the last 20 years. We don't have room for them. 5,000 houses, that's at least 10,000 more cars a day. I have to schedule my farming time now to pull out on the 401, and sometimes I'll sit there for 30 minutes in a tractor. That's backing up 20, 30 cars behind me. I'm patient. I pull off when I have a chance. I don't always have an opportunity to pull off. You got a tractor running up and down the road with $8,000, $10,000 tires, you don't just pull off in the grass. Get to a safe place. People are passing me all the time in curves, double yellow lines. It's dangerous for me, and it's dangerous for them. I'm probably in better shape if something were to happen than they would be because I'm in a large tractor. I want my kids to grow up in Kipling. I'm not leaving. We've had an opportunity to sell our farm. Developers have called. We're not interested. I don't mind people coming in, but we need to slow it down. We do not have the roads or the schools right now for the number of houses that are coming this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parrish. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, seeing no one moving, we will close this period of public comment. The next item on the agenda is appointments.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we consider the following appointments. The Administrative Appeals Board for the school bus stop arm violations. I'd like to nominate Mr. Nathan Hadley as a member of that board.
and Mr. Kenneth Wells as an alternate on that board. For the Agricultural Advisory Board, Mr. R.H. Berg would like to be reappointed to this board for a 3-year term expiring July 1, 2024. And Dudley Langdon would like to be reappointed to this board for a 3-year term expiring July 1, 2024. That's my motion, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Witherspoon. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Okay, next we have a report from the Sandhills Antique Farm Equipment Club. Mr. McCartan?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, guests, and I'd like to introduce two of my fellow members over here, Walter Wilson and J.R. Norris.
Welcome.
I'm President Alvin McCartan, President of Sandhills Antique Farm Equipment Club. We were organized in 2000 with about 6 members. Today we have about 70 families. In 2008, we had the opportunity to lease some property from the county, and we got a farm park on Alexander, in the Alexander Drive, in front of the new park down next to the river. So I'd like to invite everybody to come over and see us. And we got a show coming up the 15th and 16th of October. We are a family-oriented organization that was organized for the purpose of letting our young people and older people realize that the heritage in the past is important for today. And we're trying to carry on the operation to educate the young people and the older people that don't know anything about agriculture, how it used to be. So we are family oriented, and with the last 18 months, we've had a struggle just like everybody else has of trying to do things, and we have been able to do 3 shows. We went to 3 different shows and did demonstrations for them. We did do a spring show in March and had a good turnout for that. We're planning an October show in 15th and 16th of October, and we're getting a swap meet and the show together. So we're looking for lots of people and look forward to seeing everyone. I'd like to thank the commissioners in the past and present for all your cooperation and help that you've offered us in, with this experience. This is a work in progress. What we do, we have to raise money to do what we do. And so we are in the process of trying to develop some buildings and things. So we got a working sawmill, a working turpentine steel that Brian Avery operates. A lot of you know Brian, I'm sure. And I'd like to have you come out to our show this fall. We keep losing members. Our members are getting older, and we'd like to have these younger guys to come in and help us. Just like the young farmer back here, 48 years old. He's just the right age to come in. we got a place for everybody.
Put in the work, can't you?
And your children. So come on to see us. If you've never been to the farm park, I think you'll enjoy it. Again, thank you a lot. I'd like to say welcome to everyone. Thanks for having us. We have a couple of pictures on film over here. I'll try to explain what's going on with them. Here we're working on our 2022 sponsored tractor. That's a Color Vision 8. That's without the wheel. parking lot showing our tractors. This tractor right here, is a little boy, 10 years old, when it was given to us. And he went to help us get it, and we got a whole lot of equipment to go with it. So he said, Mr. Allen, he said, you think I could get that tractor? I said, do you want it? He said, yes, sir, I sure do. He was able to get it. And he drives that tractor all over everywhere now. So 10 years old. So it goes to show you. See, there he is. You got to get the young people into it, because if we don't, we lose our bug. They're building little trailers for poor children around here. There. And that's the tractor, the feature tractor. And that's the little boy that got the tractor. He's looking at his manual, he's studying. Here we are in front of the barn. We had a tractor ride across the river on the north side around Raven Rock. That was part of that. This was Flat Branch Fire Department. This was last Saturday, 50th anniversary of the fire department. There we are holding children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCartney. Thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate all you folks do. Okay, at this time, we have a public hearing request, I believe. Proposed zoning change, case number plan 2107-002. All right, Mr. Sykes, you want to tell us about that?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. Jay Sykes with Development Services presenting our first rezoning tonight. The owner and applicant is Mr. J. Ambe Chotke and this is a request to rezone approximately 3.4 acres from RA 30 to commercial. It's located in the Hectors Creek Township, right there on 401 and Columbus Springs Road. The site is currently vacant. Area land use consists of non-residential uses, commercial and industrial, residential developments, and individual single-family lots. Private septic tank would be utilized and public water would be utilized. Site distances are good. It's approximately 11,000 vehicle trips per day along US 401 there. Looking through your staff report, you can see the area zoning districts. Entire land use classification is employment mixed use. And then also, if you're familiar with the site or you get a chance to get out there, there's a few photos here. Looking at the evaluation, the requested zoning change to commercial will not have a negative impact on the community, as it's similar in nature to the existing zoning districts and development patterns in this area. The requested zoning district is compatible with the existing land use classification of employment mixed use. This area is also within the compatibility development target area. These two designations highlight growing areas of the county that consist of planned residential areas mixed with a variety of non-residential uses. The requested rezoning to commercial would maintain or enhance the public health, safety, and general welfare due to the area's existing commercial uses, as well as potential site improvements that would be required. And due to the size of the tract and the proposed zoning district exists directly across the street, this application does not need to be evaluated for small-scale rezoning. At the September 10th Harnett County Planning Board meeting, that board voted unanimously 5-0 to recommend approval based on compatibility with the county's land use plan. And then one citizen spoke in opposition with concerns to potential access being very close to her property. But then I think it was shown as far as how the access easement would come from 401 and everything would be served internally. And from what I understand, everything was okay from there. So therefore, as stated in the evaluation, requested rezoning would not have an unreasonable impact to the surrounding community based off of the compatibility land use plan, as well as existing non-residential uses in the area. Therefore, staff recommends approval. Staff is available for questions.
Any questions, Mr. Sykes?
Has there been, I know there's been conversation with DOT, are they gonna require turning lanes and, you know, that kind of thing?
Yes, sir. There was a site plan submitted, and it showed improvements, but either way, yes, sir, DOT, I'm sure would require improvements right there on 401. And I'm not sure if it would come all the way up to the mouth of the intersection, but it would probably at least, this is almost right across the street from where the Dollar General was just installed, so I'd imagine seeing something very similar, decel lane and widening of all through lanes.
It's probably not in our, in our ordinances, but I think we need to start thinking about requiring these developers to, they've done in Fuquay, and put in a section of widening so that at some point we can go to 4 lanes and won't have to, you know, won't be as much expense.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think a section of our CTP would require something like that, and then I mean that's kind of how, unfortunately, the DOT processes are a little slower. So, section by section is hopefully how 401 would get improved. But yes, sir. Whenever the site plan or whatever the proposal would come before the DRB, we'll look at the site plan, the CTP, and make sure DOT is looking at our local transportation thoughts as well.
Any other questions, comments, Mr. Sykes? Okay, thank you, Mr. Sykes. At this time, I'll call the public meeting to order. Much like with the public comment earlier, speakers should address the board from the podium and begin your remarks by stating your name and residential address. Please confine your comments to the subject of the public hearing, maintain proper decorum, make comments in a civil manner, and refrain from any personal attacks or use of obscene or profane language. Would anybody like to speak on this request? Yes, sir.
My name is Paul Stewart. I think I spoke about a few weeks back. I got a notice on this request because I own a small piece of property on the adjacent side of 401. So I only have one question, if they can answer it now. Is it going to require any changes to the current right-of-ways on the opposite side of the road?
Mr. Sykes, do you know the answer to that question?
Yeah. Can we come back to the podium?
That'd be fine.
Yes, sir. No, sir. More than likely,
you can stay if you want to.
More than likely, any sort of improvements would just be made on this side at the project location. It would not go all the way over and affect adjacent properties across the street. Is it? It's my understanding. Did you say across the street?
That was my question. I'm across.
Across the street. Yes, sir. No, sir. It will not come over there and affect you.
I would also remind you that this is just a rezoning and not the site plan phase of whatever's going to go on this track. And all those decisions are made during that phase and not the rezoning phase. So right now, you're just changing the land to commercial property. And anything that's available to be commercial can be on that property. So I don't want us to get too far down the road trying to decide what exactly, because you don't know the use.
Yeah, I understand that. How can the commission make the right decision as far as the adjoining properties if they don't know the end use or site?
That's the way it works. That's the law. That's the way it works. Those are done through what you hear conditional uses, where you go where a specific use goes. When you're rezoning property, which is what we're doing tonight, you're looking at all the uses that can happen in that zoning district classification. Okay?
Yeah.
So I don't want to mislead you tonight.
So what's the process for approving the site plan? Do you come back for the commission?
No, sir. When you approve a site plan, you basically, you look at all the regulations that's required, and you go and you bring it to the county, and in this situation, we have what's called a Development Review Board, which is made up of county staff members and some outside advisory agencies. And they look at all of the regulations that's required, and then they approve or deny based on if the proposed project meets those regulations. And then that's the process. Now, that's the process in a nutshell. I think if you went and asked some of the folks, it wouldn't be that simple, but if you were trying to open a business, but that's the quick and dirty of how it works, so to speak. Is that okay? Now,
I know what you're saying.
Also under the conditional hearing, I think what you really are concerned about is there are some uses that will go through what's called a conditional or a special use process. Those will go to the Board of Adjustment, and at that point, it'll be like what you're asking, okay, what are my hours of operation? What is the uses going to go here? And all those different things. And those uses, which are usually more intense uses that are not permitted by right, then you'll go through that process. I'm sure that's complicated. I didn't mean to get into all that, but does that help?
I heard it.
Okay. Call us tomorrow. I'll take all the time you want to go through.
Okay, thank you, Jay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mark. Anyone else?
Can I speak to this too? I was just gonna let the gentleman who spoke know that that's kind of what's happening in our case with the asphalt plant, is that once it's been rezoned, they don't come back for public comment. So now's your opportunity.
We need to keep the comments to
I was just
this
letting him know,
project.
because he's asking about if they come back, and I just want to make it clear to him that they won't.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one moving, we will call this public hearing to a close. And this time, there are no further questions or comments. We'll entertain a motion on this rezoning request.
Mr. Chairman, the requested rezoning to commercial would not have an unreasonable impact on the surrounding community based on compatibility to the county's land use plan, as well as due to the existing non-residential uses in this area. Therefore, I make a motion that we approve this rezoning request.
Thank you, Mr. Wellspoon. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sykes, another proposed zoning change, case number plan 2107-0003.
Yes, sir. My second item tonight, like you said, is also a rezoning. It is a request to rezone approximately 1.1 acre from RA 20R and RA 30 to commercial. Two different parcels, two different owners, CEB Co. Construction and Donald and Patricia Norden, 0.87 acres and 1.25 acres. The applicant for tonight is Reston Companies. This is located on US 421 in the Mamers area there, right at the 421 Mamers Road intersection of the Lillington Township. The parcels are currently vacant now. There is one billboard on one of the smaller lots. The parcel at the immediate corner there used to be occupied by, I think it was an old quadplex. It was occupied one time by some medical offices, I think. Surrounding land uses consist of single-family residence, two retail conveniences type establishments, a fire and EMS station, a post office, as well as a medical center, which I think now be out of business. It's just right down the other side of 421. Public services utilized would be public water and private septic. There's approximately 6,100 vehicle trips along US 421, and site distances are good. Looking at the zoning compatibility, there is a commercial right there in the area and on both sides of the intersection. And the entire land use classification is a rural center development node. The requested rezoning to commercial will not have a negative impact on the surrounding properties or the community, as it's similar in nature to the existing zoning districts in the area. The requested zoning is compatible with the existing land use classification of a rural center development node. Rural center development nodes are small-scale commercial centers. These areas can be suburban in nature and contain smaller non-residential uses. The requested rezoning to commercial, whose intent is to promote the development of businesses and institutional uses, would enhance or maintain the public health general welfare due to the neighboring commercially zoned properties. And since the proposed zoning district is contiguous to the same districts, it does not need to be evaluated for small-scale rezoning. Also, at the September Planning Board meeting, the board voted unanimous 5-0 based off of compatibility with the land use classification, and no one spoke in opposition. Therefore, as stated in the evaluation, rezoning to commercial would be compatible with the Harnett County land use plan. It would not have an unreasonable impact on the surrounding community based on the existing commercials in the area. Staff would recommend approval.
Thank you, Mr. Sykes. Any questions or comments for Mr. Sykes?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. So this time we'll call a public hearing into session for this proposed zoning change. Please remember the guidelines outlined in the prior public hearing. Anyone who'd like to speak on this matter? Seeing no one moving, we will close the public hearing. Do I have a motion on this proposed zoning change?
Mr. Chairman, since the requested rezoning to commercial is compatible with the Harnett County land use plan and will not have an unreasonable impact on the surrounding community based on its existing commercial in the area, I make a motion that we approve this rezoning request.
Thank you, thank you, Commissioner Nichol. Thank you, Commissioner Witherspoon, for the second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. At this time, I believe we will have the county manager's report. Mr. Wood?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, you have the reports listed that were in your packet. I really don't have anything else to add to that. We are working on several projects, but I'll update you on those at a later date.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wood. Any new business to come before this body? Okay. Hearing none, I believe we have need to go closed session.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board go into closed session for the following purpose: to instruct the county staff concerning the position to be taken by the county in negotiating a contract for the acquisition of real property. This motion is made pursuant to North Carolina General Statute, Section 143-318.11A5.
Thank you, Mr. Witherspoon. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Nichol. All in favor say aye. Aye. Now go into closed session.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, sir. Good job. Following a motion in closed session to end the closed session, return to open session, I'll call us back into open session. At this time, is there any further business to come before this board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Commissioner Witherspoon. Second, Commissioner Nick. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Where's your gavel?